So this is blockchain.com again. And what did I want to look at? All right, so let's look at transactions per block. Interesting chart here. Again, this is if you go to data and you go to charts. So transactions per block, this is for the past year. You can see that it's sitting at around 2,000. So this is 2,000. You can actually do like a 7-day average here. It doesn't really help. Anyway, so you can see that it's about 2,000 right now. It's dropped to 1,300. So yeah, that's the transactions per block. And that indeed can vary because of the size of each individual transaction. So if transactions grow in size, let's have a look at a year. What do we have here? See, it kind of goes up and down, but that really depends on the individual size in terms of megabytes or kilobytes per transaction. Now, if we look at charts again, and we go and look at a different one, we look at average block size. See, that should be more or less consistent, because the maximum block size is 1 megabyte, like 1 megabyte or so. So you can see it's like 0.05. So more or less all the time, this chart should be around 1 megabyte. So, sometimes things happen, I guess, but it doesn't go like up to 2 megabytes or like, down to consistently half a megabyte. It's always around 1 megabyte. And that's because miners generally, like want to maximize the usage of that block, because they don't want to leave it half empty. They want to put in as much as they can in order to get as many fees as possibly they can. And speaking of fees, here's another interesting chart here, total transaction fees. So this is total value of transaction fees paid to miners, not including the Coinbase value block reward. So basically not including any new Bitcoins that are generated for creating the block itself. And so you can see here, this is in US dollars, interesting. So you can see here that this is how much miners are actually getting in terms of fees. This is in the past year, they're earning. Wow. You can see here in December 2017, they earned in one day, the miners earned $22 million in fees. How crazy is that? And just recently, yesterday, they earned $400,000 in fees. But the reason here is it's twofold. First one is demand. Of course, if people want to push transactions into the network, into the blockchain, then they have to, like, there's a lot of demand. A lot of people want to have their transactions go through. There's only so much that it can take, right? There's only 1 megabyte per block of transactions that can be included. So therefore, people have to specify higher fees. Like when there's a lot of demand for people putting in their transactions, whoever has specifies the highest fees wins. So that drives the fees up, right? It's like a supply and demand economy. And when there's not that much going on, that people don't like, there's not that many transactions that need to go through, people are not in a rush, or those two factors, then the fees go down. But the other thing is that this is in USD, not in BTC. I'm not sure why they actually did it in USD rather than in BTC, because this is affected by the exchange rate, right? So we know that in December, Bitcoin was like the highest ever, and then kind of dropped off a little bit. I think like Bitcoin was like almost around $20,000 per Bitcoin back then. So like if you convert this back to Bitcoin, it won't be as chaotic. It will be more stable. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So there we go. That's yeah. Those are the stats. There's a lot more charts here that can be useful. So have a look around if you haven't yet, and maybe you'll find this cost of percentage transaction volume, cost per transaction, different charts that you might find interesting. There's some on mempool, but we'll talk more about mempool later on. There's transaction rate. How many transactions? Oh, this might be interesting. How many transactions are added to the mempool per second? So this is the speed at which transactions are being added. You can see it's kind of like, it's interestingly seasonal. Looks like maybe what's this? Not seasonal. This is like, because this is 20. Okay, so this is like this is time of day. You see, like, I think this is the time of day or something like that. So the drop is about 4 p.m. Okay, and also I'm not sure what time, which system time are they using? 2107, is that my time? Okay, yeah, so it looks like it's my time. So Australia time. Oh, maybe that's the time difference with America, like, because America's like waking up now, I guess. Anyway, so interesting stuff, interesting charts, have a look around. Another cool thing I wanted to show you is if you go to btc.com, there's a transaction accelerator. So there's not mempool, mining pools have these transaction accelerators. Remember we said that your transaction could get stuck. So if that happens, you can go to a transaction accelerator and you put in transaction hash, and then they'll tell you how much it will cost you for them to accelerate your transaction. Meaning that here it says that there's a 75% chance that it'll be pushed through within the first hour, and there's a 98% chance within the 4 hours. So it's a common issue, and they actually make money off it. That they're like, we're the mining pool. We have the power to choose which transactions go in first and which transaction go in last. And so we're going to, like if you want us to prioritize your transaction, then pay up, basically pay up, and we'll put it through for you. Okay, so that's the transaction accelerator. And finally, to finish off for today, I had some additional reading for you. This is a simple article, nothing too complex, how Bitcoin mining works, but we've already covered off quite a lot of things, and it talks about nodes, solving a puzzle, economics, difficulty. So it's a very short article, but if you want to kind of like recap on your knowledge from a third source and just see if you have any, by now you should be able to understand every single thing in this article. There should be no holes as far as I can see from here. You have all the knowledge to understand this whole article, including what we discussed today. Miners keep trying, but with a different block configuration. So I wanted to give you this article early on, but then they had this comment in it, and I didn't want it to be confusing. But now you should be able to understand everything. So if you want to try it out, how Bitcoin mining works is on CoinDesk, and the link will be, of course, in the course notes. So just a good way to confirm your knowledge. On that note, thank you so much for being here today, and I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, enjoy blockchains.